There have been a lot of games to release on the PSVR2, and I mean a lot of games. On a lot of YouTube VR channels that do, game reviews, there's a lot of games that get covered and never really talked about again, even after they improve. So I'm gonna be the change that I wanna see, and so I'm gonna go over PSVR2 games that technically may have either flopped at release, weren't their best version, or just not good. And I want to talk about how they improved over time and kind of where they sit now. With that being said, I'm MartydudeVR, and this is the most improved games on the PSVR2. The first game on our list for the most improved games is Switchback VR. This game was very, very, very unfinished at launch, and anybody who played it within the first few months really felt that. So I beat this game within the first week of it being released, and boy, I tell you, it was unfinished. If unfinished had a picture in a dictionary, it would be Switchback VR. I mean, the lighting was terrible. You can tell they didn't add any foveated rendering for the PSVR2, which is really important for performance. I even had a few game crashes while I was playing the game, and the render distance and just overall vibe of the game was just kind of off from development. It was pretty tragic because this is really one of my most anticipated games for the PSVR2's launch. So to sum it up, ironically, this game needed Jesus. Awesome enough, eventually they did fix the game. So this game was originally released on March 16, 2023. A whopping 4 months and 11 days later, aka 133 days, on July 21st, 2023. They released update 1.06, which damn near fully fixed the game. That certain patch added everything. I'm talking about bug fixes. It actually added foveated rendering, FSR, memory usage improvements. Every problem that this game had was essentially fixed in one update. I'm talking about a complete overhaul of the game. When I tell you the lighting is so much better now versus, pre-patch, that is almost like, the only way I can describe it is almost criminal. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy. I tell you guys, it almost feels like a whole new game when you go back and play it, especially after playing that first version. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I honestly did not go back to this game for a long time. Because honestly, after that first impression for me, and you leave kind of a bad taste in my mouth, it's really hard for me to go back to the game. But eventually this year, ironically, because I was doing research for this video, I went back and played it. And I'm telling you guys, go pick this one up if you like horror games. This game is actually really good now. I kind of just hopped on a few levels to kind of test them out. I didn't really play through the full things, to be like honest with you, because I already kind of beat the game. But what I did play, it was completely different. There was actually a lot better aiming. I felt like my bullets were doing a lot more to the enemies. And honestly, it just felt like more of an experience. So even though I played the game fully and it's not really something I would want to go back and replay like that, I highly recommend it to people who like arcadey shooters, especially for a PSVR 2. Even though I'm being real jokey about, the overall just kind of vibe of this video, I am really thankful to Supermassive Games for actually going back and fixing the game, man. It's really appreciated. Hope you guys recuperated some money from that initial launch, but I'm glad developers are going back to actually finish and give us what they originally wanted to give us. So shout out to Supermassive Games. I can't wait to see what you guys have next. Man, we've been talking about this game long enough. Let's move on. Our next game is one that actually has a VR mode instead of being a full VR game. No Man's Sky, when it first came out, was pretty rough looking. And this may surprise a lot of you newer PSVR 2 guys, but for the people who were there around the PSVR 2 launch, and you played that first version of No Man's Sky before the big update that added foveated rendering, the game was blurry. It was one of those situations where the game was so fun that you would just sit there and just not mind the fact that it looked like a PS1 game. The only times that the game was actually clear was actually in space. And space was the best parts of No Man's Sky VR because everything looked generally clear. But sadly, whenever you landed on a planet, it just went all downhill from there. And it would really hurt my eyes after playing for so long. But I was having so much fun that I would legit play for hours and just be having fun, be cool. No Man's Sky for the PSVR 2 actually got fixed on August 24th, 2023. The only reason I remember this date because this was kind of the turning point for my channel. I had just dropped my Firewall Ultra review. which is really bad at the time. I'm gonna get into that later. And I dropped the Echoes update video for No Man's Sky on PSVR 2. Now, I know a lot of VR YouTubers kind of dropped the, oh, this update changed everything in the thumbnails and the titles. I'm guilty also. But this update really did kind of change everything for the PSVR 2 version of No Man's Sky. When I tell you this game looked totally different. I mean, it just was a full upgrade. It was like playing the flat version of No Man's Sky in terms of graphic fidelity. Was it perfect? No, but it was way better than what it originally was. When I tell you, I put in a criminal amount of hours on No Man's Sky after this update because one, there was no more eye strain. Two, the Echoes update added a bunch of cool stuff that I never seen before. And then three, I love space. I'm a space guy. And to be quite honest with you, this is the best working version of No Man's Sky VR on any system. If you're a PC VR guy, you know that No Man's Sky for PC VR is tough to run. You need a good graphics card to get it even working to the point where it's decent to play. That's why I always say No Man's Sky for PSVR 2 is the best version. There's also been an update recently that added a update for particle effects. So during the holiday expeditions, they actually added an update to fix all the particle systems in the game. So you can actually see fog, you can see like little stuff floating around each planet, and it's really cool. So the game essentially is not perfect. No game is ever perfect, but it's pretty good. It's really great. It's a really full experience now. All right, I've yapped enough about No Man's Sky. Go play it. I mean, it's a flat 2 VR mode, so even if you don't enjoy it, I guess the full game flat, you might really like it in VR. Go play it. Now let's talk about an actual tragedy. Originally, I wasn't gonna put this game on this list because now it's kind of dead, essentially. Outside of Resident Evil 4, Firewall Ultra was a lot of people's most anticipated PSVR 2 shooter. Sadly, Firewall Ultra did not live up to really any hype for most people who played it that first week. The thing about when games flop on the PSVR 2 is that first impressions are lasting impressions. A lot of people played it that first week when it was terribly developed and never went back to it. I'm one of those people. Now, I didn't go back to this game for months. The last time I played Firewall Ultra was actually in November. I played it in November because I wanted to see if the game actually got better. And it actually did. The game was actually pretty fun at that point. I mean, just to even cover what was wrong with the game, it's like a laundry list of stuff. I'm talking about this game was buggy. Bruh, I mean, you try to load into a 4v4 and you would have people from the other team spawning on your team. So you would have like a 5v3 in the lobby. It was bad, man. It was so bad. The tutorial was weird. You couldn't pick up stuff with your left hand. It had to be your right hand. And then sometimes you can pick up stuff with your right hand. It had to be your left hand. If you're right-handed, that was really awkward. The aiming was off-center. So when you would actually try to use the auto aim system that they give you, it would be off. Like you couldn't aim pistols. There was a lot of just terribleness on that launch. Even the PvE was bugged out. I was like, bro, what were they doing? Even with all that being said, even a few months after release, they actually did fix a lot of stuff. I gotta give First Contact their credit. They went back and they did their thing on development. They fixed a lot of bugs. Even that first week, they were knocking them out. I gotta give them the credit on that. Sadly, with even all the good PR that came after and just people coming back to the game, it didn't help like it was supposed to. Firewall Ultra developer First Contact Entertainment announced its shutdown after nearly 8 years. Now, they did list lack of industry support for VR as a reason for shutting down, but honestly, after dropping a game you've been developing for a long time, putting a lot of money into, and then it came out in that state, and a lot of people either refunded if they could, you know, with Sony's policy, or just didn't play it, didn't buy skins, didn't support the ecosystem, definitely didn't help. Ironically, with that being said, I kind of wish Firewall Ultra did kind of have a chance to get a bounce back. But with Breachers coming to PSVR 2, that was really the nail in the coffin. I'm not gonna lie, Breachers is really good. Now, obviously, I'm not telling you to get this game because I mean, the developer kind of doesn't exist anymore. If you don't know really when the services for the game are gonna go down. What I am telling you though, is if you want a tactical shooter on the PSVR 2, check out Breachers. And I do want to give a shout out to First Contact for what they tried to do at least. I didn't want to leave them off this list because their game did improve in certain ways over the course of its lifespan. I do want this to be a lesson to all future PSVR2 devs. Try to get good releases day one. Let's move on. Our fourth game is one that's really interesting. Galaxy Karts came out during a really rough time for the PSVR2. And what I mean by that is that it came out around some titans. This game, developed by VR Monkey, released on March 24th, 2023. I mean, this game came out around Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners chapters 1 and 2, Gorn, Switchback, you know how that went. It just came out around some really good games. And it sucks because they had a really cool idea. This game, conceptually, it's just Mario Kart. It has a really fun premise. But the issue was that the game wasn't fun. So personally, I skipped this one because Vertigo 2 came around this time. And honestly, I like Vertigo, so I played that one instead of this one. Now, I came back to this one about a month ago. Now, the developers came to my Discord. They told me, hey, here's some free keys and stuff like that. Try the game out. Let me know. So after a bunch of playing, a bunch of games that was new releasing that I had to review, finally got some time to go back and play stuff for this video. So I went back and I played this game, and I must say, this game has a lot of promise, but it just needs more content. The maps to me feel really boring. I will say that. They're not as fun as like Mario Kart levels, but at the same time, it's kind of tough to compare like an obviously smaller game in terms of scale versus freaking Nintendo. It's like, it's Big Mario, big Luigi, Big Mario, Big Zelda, right? Now, I do think this game is fun with friends. Personally, I got into one multiplayer game. Because usually I play my VR games at night because I'm a hermit and I'm just a night owl, so usually most time I'm doing my VR gaming is at nighttime. I got into a few online matches, and I must say that's where this game really shines. To me, the base game is just boring. Personally, just going through different levels of the same map is just not fun to me, and the challenges were kind of like meh. But if you can get a squad of friends on this, oh yeah, you can have some fun for sure. I highly recommend it just for that. I think I need to completely lean into the online aspect of this game. I heard they're doing that, so this game has definitely come a long way. The controls is really fun. I love how the weapons feel when you're actually driving around in the cart. But I feel like that would definitely be the hardest part to really get off in terms of development for this game. Is Galaxy Karts the most amazing game? Well, honestly, no. I would not say that. But is it fun? Debatably. I think debatably. I definitely implore people to go try it. I mean, it's not the most expensive game, so go try it and see how you feel. But I gotta give it to VR Monkey. They did improve on the very harsh criticisms that they got from really nice reviewers. So this was definitely an experience for them. I hope they learned from it, and I can't wait to see where Galaxy Karts go in the future. Vroom, vroom. Last but not least, we have our most debatable spot on this list. But before we get into that, I do have to say, make sure you go to vrrock.com and get you some prescription lenses for your PSVR2. Use code MartydudeVR and I can get you 10% off, man. The PSVR2 lenses are really cheap and they're magnetic, and honestly, it's easy to install and use. If you wear glasses in VR, don't do that, man. You can scratch your lenses, and it's a lot to replace a VR headset. So get you some VR Rock lenses, tell them MartydudeVR sent you, use code MartydudeVR, and save you some money, fool. Going back to the content, a lot of you guys are probably wondering what was wrong with Crossfire Sierra Squad. I mean, the game's amazing, it's fun, really cool to play. Well, actually, the release for this game wasn't that great. Now, a lot of you guys are like, wait, whoa, I played that release and I had fun, MartydudeVR. What do you mean? Well, sit there, child, and let me explain to you. Originally, when I first played this game, from the marketing alone, I thought this was gonna be a whole different experience. Now, a lot of other PSVR reviewers thought the same thing. So when we actually got the game, and it was just an arcade shooter that you would find like in Dave and Buster's, a lot of people, like myself, were disappointed. So we felt like we had got lied to in terms of marketing. Now, here's what the developers did that I still think was a very odd choice. The actual game that most people wanted to play, which is the realism mode, and then two, the actual real life reloading and stuff like that with your hand, and just the increased level of difficulty that most, veteran VR players want, was kind of hidden. When this game first came out, to get to the realism mode, which is honestly the best part of this entire game, you had to complete the full story. By that time, like a lot of people like myself, I had just gotten bored of the game because there was no difficulty to it. It felt like I was getting my hand held. I didn't even have to reload. It felt like a PSVR1 game. Even people like Beardo and Gamertag felt the same way. Like it wasn't an actual full-fledged fun VR experience. After my initial review and video drop, I didn't touch this game for months. I didn't go back to it, just didn't really pique my interest. There was other things to play. But after a while, I circled back and I played this game in the realism mode with the actual manual reloading and regular aiming. Bruh, this game is fire. This game is amazing. Personally, it's one of my favorite games on the PSVR2 now. But like I said before early in this video, first impressions are everything. So a lot of people aren't going to go back and actually see, oh, this game is actually good now. They're going to go based off reviews, which, I mean, we're right in their own ways. Crossfire Sierra Squad on realism mode with full aiming by yourself and manual reloading is an actual good COD experience. There's waves of enemies to shoot, and you have to be really tactical about how you handle enemies in certain situations. The levels are actually really fun, and I actually would like to play this game with a friend. Like I said before, I play most of my games at night, so when people are asleep. Skill issue. If you want to play a shooter that's going to give you a legitimate run for your money, Crossfire Sierra Squad is that shooter. Go check this game out. It's legit a bundle of fun. Like, I have no real actual critique of the game at this point because it's a really decent shooter now. 10 out of 10, or maybe not 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Recommend. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said before, this took a while to make. This is a lot of B-roll, a lot of editing. So please like and subscribe. Please support the content. More content coming soon. Hopefully, trying something different actually rewards me on the algorithm. The algorithm can be a cruel mistress, so we're gonna see. It's been your boy MartydudeVR. Make sure you go to the description and check out some of the discounts I got below. Check out VRrock.com, use code MartydudeVR, get you 10% off like I said before. But remember, I'm just a dude with a VR headset. Peace.